Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one!
Oladipo!
Another one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and
He hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday, September 21st. Is this fall yet, John?
Actually, no. Today's the last day of summer, and we have a high of 95 degrees.
Yeah, well, summer's not going away easy, baby.
But
that's right.
Going into fall tomorrow, we're going to drop all the way down to 72 or 73. So it's really the perfect transition from season to season.
That's not what I call a perfect transition. That's falling off the cliff. But hello, everybody. Welcome to another great show. We've got lined up as well. Bob Kravitz from The Athletic will be here. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star. Rick Bozich, Hall of Famer, will be here as no Bob Kravitz. Scratch that. No Bob Kravitz. Forgot about that. But regardless, brought to you by Endeavor Hospitality and the WOW Club. Make sure you go there and sign up. Start earning WOW rewards today. It doesn't cost you anything. It just will benefit you. Just go to your Apple App Store or Google Play Store, and you can sign up there. Great places like BB's Market, where we'll be each and every Friday. Come out and join us. Get yourself some free breakfast and all these great tidbits that Chef JD brings around for us to try. Breakfast would be on me, by the way, not on BB's. But it's fun. It's a blast. Come on out. Like I said, it's at 1915 South Walnut Street in Bloomington, which is just on the south side of town, right by Bloomington South High School, same side. So come out. We have a blast. Also, don't forget Andy Moore Honda. If you're looking for a vehicle, that's no better place to go. They are the number one Honda dealer around. Another great show up. Looking forward to talking to Kyle and Rick. I hate when Bob's not here. He's always fun.
Especially because he would have had a lot to say about the Colts this week.
Yeah. What do you say? I mean, that's last year's start was. This is not different than last year's start, other than you had last year's start last year. You didn't have that the previous year. So the biggest thing was to not have that, to get away from that. And boy, oh boy, it's the exact opposite, which is a little shocking, surprising in how it happened. Hey, Mike, how are you doing, sir? Appreciate everybody jumping on. Tanis as well. Michael, Brian, brother, up in Lafayette, we appreciate you. Hope to get you down here to Bloomington. Definitely breakfast on me if you make it down. Yeah, it's I don't know what to say. They had Swerve's got number 40. Good for him. Great year for him. It's professional football, so they're playing. Every team they play is a team that they can lose to, obviously, hence losing 8 straight on the road at Jacksonville. What was, man, I would have probably lost the farm on that one last Sunday, but I don't bet those games. It's nuts. It's crazy, but we'll see. The Colts that kind of turned it around last year. Can they do that this year? If so, they're going to do it much sooner. They can't wait till 4 games in to do that. But we'll see how that goes. Then of course we've got the stuff we talked about yesterday with the potential change in the age of the NBA from 18 to 19. We'll see how that goes. Is this a joke? Cody Zeller signs with the Utah Jazz. Is that for real? I didn't even know he was still playing. Jason says, hey, the judge hit number 60. Start off the bottom of the ninth, and then Stanton ends it with a walk-off laser grand slam. Wow. The Yankees got it back, it sounds like. They had really were stinking it up there toward the end of the season. They had a 10-game lead and let it get down to like 3, but they've kind of gotten their swag back. Yeah, that's definitely the way to do it. That's how you end a ball game there. Holy smokes. Brian says he'll be there on the next home game. He's got season tickets, so he'll be here. I look forward to that. Cool. Awesome. Let's see. As we wind down this baseball season, I'm trying to being a little slow pulling up here. Well, there we go. Trying to get to see who's doing what, baby. I saw that the Reds have had a little resurgence. Boy, they gave the Cardinals problems. But they set a unique record. 99 hit batters this season. The Reds have a shot at becoming the first team in the modern era of Major League Baseball to hit 100 batters, setting a new record with 99 this past Tuesday. Reds rookie starter Nick Lodolo, and he hit 3 Red Sox batters. How do you hit 3 guys? Unless you're doing it on purpose, and I don't think he was. The previous record was set by the Cubs last season, 95. And the previous highs were 95 in 03, in 94, and 94 in 02, both by the Tampa Bay Rays. Wow. Hey, let's see. Let's get it. Lodolo's 18 hit batters this season are the most by a Reds pitcher since Rube Benton hit 18 back in 1912. Record is 23, set by Jake Weimer in 07. That's 1907, not 2007. Oh, man. Well, the Reds are good for something, right? At least they got that going for them, which is nice. Let's see. Is Judge going to get to 60? More importantly, he did hit his 60th. But I mean, the one I was going is Pujols. Is he going to get to 700? I know. Is he still at 697? He's at 698, I believe. Is that where he is still? That's when they were playing the Reds. So he's there. He's close. Surely to goodness. Because they'll be in the playoffs. So he should have enough time, I would think, to do that, to get that accomplished. And that's quite the accomplishment. Let's see. Where's the standings, man? Come on. Anyway, I can't get the standings to pull up to play with for some reason. Dang it. I wanted to see who's doing what. Having problems with that. Regardless of that, the Cardinals are they're definitely going to make it. I know we got a bunch of Cardinal fans out there. Wyatt says, I think he'll get it. Only needs 2 more. Brian thinks he'll hit the 700 by the end of the season, of course. Yeah. How about this? Some news for Hoosier Hysteria. I know you're all waiting. Rapper G Herbo will be performing at Simon Scott Assembly Hall for after Hoosier Hysteria. So you got that going for you, which is nice. I'll be honest with you. Don't know who he is. I'm going to have to Google him. But that doesn't surprise me. It's a genre I don't know everyone in unless they're a superstar or like, Eminem or Jay-Z or any of those guys. I'm still mad that I cannot get my Major League Baseball standings to come up. I don't know what's going on with them, but oh well. But yeah, so you got that going for you. G Herbo will be at Hoosier Hysteria. Oh, Wyatt. Postseason stats do not count towards career totals. Really? I don't think every sport does that. Most sports include them, period. So that's a little different. Why can't I get my standings, man? It's so maddening. Just have to go to a different. What's going on with everybody? What are your plans for the week? Who's coming? Who's going? Anyone going to the Cincinnati game? Indiana's first road game of the season. It's going to be a tough one. Larry G pointing out that the Braves have clinched their playoff berth. Wow, 93-55. Now, did they clinch the division? Because I know that they have been in a race, a torrid race with the Mets. Did they end up winning their division? I don't know why I cannot get I'm having problems getting, there we go. Come on now, baby. There's still, who's still a game back? Larry G says they're still a game back, but they clinched the division. Yeah, I want to see who's, here we go. Now we're getting pulled up. Yankees, they're up 5.5, so they're good to go. Cleveland, they've extended their lead out to 5 over the White Sox, and the White Sox are not going to be good enough to get a wild. Let's see. Houston, gigantic lead over the Mariners, but the Mariners will make it into the playoffs. They've got 81 wins. Ooh, they're going to slide in there because the entire top 3 of the American League East is also making the playoffs. So there's that. Now in the National League, the Mets do have a game lead over the Braves, which means the Mets and the Braves have both clinched a playoff spot. The St. Louis Cardinals, however, have not, although they have an 8.5 game lead over the Milwaukee Brewers. The Dodgers have won their division and clinched a playoff spot with a 21 game lead over the Padres, who will play in the playoffs. The San Diego Padres are 21 games back, and they will be in the playoffs as of right now. So there's that. Tannis is going to the Cincy game. Going to be his stepson's first college game. Oh, very cool. Well, that should be a fun one. It's going to be Indiana is a. Let's check the balance sheet. See if it's dropped any further. Man, they are 17-point underdog. I think someone has said it might have gone to 18. Not sure about that. But I'm still shocked that it's that high. I mean, I really am. But I don't mess with Vegas, man. They're pretty good. 16.5-point underdog right now. 57 the over and under. So there you go. That's the game that Vegas is expecting. What are you expecting? this is an opportunity for Indiana to get a win, but Cincinnati is, I think these two teams are close, but Cincinnati is at home, and it's going to be the difference between Cincinnati beating themselves or not. And that's what I've seen them do. They've beaten themselves by making mistakes. If they continue to make mistakes, they'll lose that game. But if they aren't making mistakes, they're going to be hard to beat at home. But it's a game that if Indiana can find a way to win, it would be gigantic, because that would propel them on to Nebraska, where they really, that's almost a must-win game for me, for a couple of reasons. And we'll talk more about it later, but Nebraska is just a wounded animal, a wounded animal. And wounded animals can be dangerous, but they're also weak, and you've got to put them down. And you cannot let Nebraska rise up and get a win now. You're better than they are. Indiana is better than that Nebraska football team is at the moment. So you have to take advantage of that. That's a win that they have to get regardless. And even if they were to lose to Cincinnati and go to Nebraska and win, you come out of that slate 4-1. Oh, you're fine. You've done well. This team will have done extraordinarily well if they can get through Nebraska and be 4-1. They should be extraordinarily tickled pink. Tim says IU has had 7 different players to catch a pass and 12 in the last game. Yep. Hopefully they can keep that up. Well, they have to spread it around to avoid the exposing of the lack of a running game. But yeah, 12 guys catching a pass, that means that there are a lot of guys that can make plays, which is great, because you can put a lot of guys in get a lot of guys out in space, multiple receivers. It's hard to cover when you have the guys that can make the plays. And so they do. They've got to just keep it put together. Brian says that he thinks if they play a 4-quarter, that the 4 quarters they can win this weekend. Though that's true. I believe that as well. Because the one thing Indiana has not done is shot themselves in the foot a lot with horrible mistakes a lot. So I believe that as well. We got plenty more to talk about in regards to that and much more. Cal Neddenriep will join us later. Rick Bozich. On top of that, back with all of that and more, brought to you by our good friends from BB's Market. Looking forward to seeing Chef JD this weekend. If you haven't been out there, you should. In most incredible meats you'll ever have. Best custom meats around. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting...
All right, I've got 2 clips for you. I've got Tom Allen just kind of generically talking about Cincinnati, and I've got Conor Bezak. What?
I've got 2 guns, one for
right.
each of you.
And Conor talking about exactly what you were just talking about, using the multiple receivers and stuff like that. So
cool.
Where the hell did I put that? There it is. Where that? Yeah. Oh, man. Jim, do you ever feel perpetually tired? I feel like I don't remember the last time I was not tired.
I feel that way perpetually. Yes, every freaking every day when that alarm clock goes, I'm like, are you kidding me?
I just don't get why I can't get over that, man. I used to be a morning person. And it's not that I'm not a morning person. I just used to feel more refreshed.
It might give you a secret.
What?
Take a cold shower. I'm not kidding.
You're not the first person that's told me that.
Not kidding. Just had someone. I was in discussion with somebody about nothing to do with that, but Jordan Hulls and Mike Ross, they were talking about something, but he's like, even if splashing cold water on you, it gets. Try taking a cold shower. It's not fun, but watch the difference. No, but watch the difference in your day. We were talking about cryotherapy. That's what it was.
Oh, yeah, that's some insane stuff.
You're in there for like 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Because it heals the body. Refreshes everything. Telling you, cold shower.
All right, here we go.
Page or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday. Jim Coyle with you as always. Dustin Schutte on assignment. Brought to you by our good friends at Southern Stone Restaurant, where tonight at 7:05 you can catch Don Fisher and Coach Tom Allen for Inside Indiana Football at Southern Stone Restaurant, located at Patterson and Rogers in Bloomington. Great place just to go eat. It's I'm telling you, I looked at the menu last month. I couldn't believe how inexpensive it was. The food is like a upper scale with lower scale prices. It's mind-boggling. But that happens at 7:05 tonight. So stop by and see what's going on there. How's everybody else doing? Rudy said, just wait till the med beds come out. We were talking about always being tired. Mike says, cut your caffeine, overstimulating your body. It's overstimulating your body. Maybe you have sleep apnea. Has your wife complained that you snore?
No, I don't think that's a problem.
How would you know?
Because she would say something. I've told her she snores before.
Well, maybe that's your problem. Maybe
she doesn't snore all the time. It's like episodic or episodic, however you say that.
Forrest joining us. Five Lefts thinks that McCullough is going to have a big game against Cincinnati. Well, that's not surprising since he kind of got engaged in the last game a little bit for the first time, really. The Boys on Amazon. Five Lefts asking, I have not seen that. I'm not familiar with that series, but I will certainly look it up. I don't know what it's about, but I'll have to Google that. Looking forward to that. We've got some clips from meeting with Coach Allen and Conor Bezak at Monday in regards to the upcoming game against Cincinnati for the Hoosiers, which is an important game. The Bearcats, a new quarterback. That's the thing. They most of their top offensive players, Desmond Ridder, the receivers, some of the receivers, they're gone, but they've reloaded. Bryant's a transfer from Eastern Michigan. where he threw for over 3,000 yards and 14 touchdowns last year. He's already totaled 863 yards and 7 touchdowns this season. He's thrown 2 picks. But more importantly, he's got a 70% completion percentage. That goes against I'd have to pull up Conor's stats right now, but I know that they're not that.
Conor is closer to the 56% range.
Yeah, it's which is higher than I thought. I'll be honest with you. His percentage isn't always great. But then since they've got a running back in Charles McClellan, shorter but built runner, has got an aggressive mindset. He's got 211 yards this season. Corey Kiner, also running back. He's a transfer from LSU there. Then they've got several wide receivers. Tyler Scott is one that came back from last year. He averaged 17 yards a catch last season, which ranked second in their conference. So then they've added a couple of guys, an all AAC second team selection in 2020, kick returner, big body tight end. So they've got a solid squad, man. They also finished in the top 10 in turnovers gained in the last 3 seasons. So that's something that they focus on. Cincinnati starting offensive linemen bring 94 career starts into this season. That's huge. So much more on thehoosier.com. And how many of you have a subscription to thehoosier.com? If you don't, you should. It's only $8 a month. And there are several times you can get specials for that. But that is a way to continue getting the most updated news and recruiting information. And most people love going on the boards and chatting it up with everyone. Tana said for this game, the big deal. Whoops, I hit that. I don't know why it's not reading it. I can't read that all of a sudden, but the big deal is that Cincinnati lost their starting corners and deep safety from last year's team defense, and that helps immensely with Bezak throwing those mid to deep balls. Yes, it does. And they haven't been tested in any way, I don't think, the way that they will be by this Indiana offense. And especially now after last week, when Indiana needed it again, but they were able to mix so many guys, that's going to be something for Cincinnati to deal with. But Indiana needs to deal with their porous defense. That has to be gotten under control now. They cannot play that way against Cincinnati and win this game, period. End of story. You can't let those running – you can't hold a team to 33 yards rushing in the first half and give up 150 in the second half on the ground. Can't do that and win a game. They do that against Cincinnati, they lose, period. End of story. Thank you, 5 Lefts. We appreciate you, brother. But yeah, they cannot do that. They cannot do a lot of the things they've done to get to this point. They have to play better. It's game 4. It's time to be better. And it's time to start putting it all together. You know, the excuses of the early season and all that, it's kind of out of the way. You had to beat a Big Ten team to open the season. You got that accomplished. You had to play a tougher than expected FCS team, but you got that done. Then you played an expected tough match with the Western Kentucky team, and you were able to get that done. But it's time to do more than just get it done, because as the competition continues to ramp up, just getting it done is not going to cut it. But we'll see this week. Tom Allen in meeting with him this week. John, you want to set this up?
Yeah, we'll hear his opening statement about Cincinnati and what he expects for the Hoosiers going into their first road game. And let's just go ahead and cut to what he has to say.
Just proud of those guys for competing at a high level, and got to keep getting better. We all know that, but it's huge to be able to be resilient in late games, to be able to play our best football when it counts the most. Really excited about this opportunity this week with Cincinnati. Coach Fickle's done a tremendous job. Just really impressive what they built there, and playing a playoff team that at home. So great challenge, great opportunity for us to be able to be on the road for our first road game of the season, and just impressive what they've done. They got a lot of guys back on offense, but a lot of new faces on defense, but still playing at a very high level. Really good system, good scheme they have. Their players have been developed, you can tell. So the guys stepping in, they got some transfers stepping in as well and making a lot of plays for them. So it's just a very, very good football team, and saw that when they went and played Arkansas, and so film is very obvious. So really have to play our best football, have to play a complete game from start to finish and beyond, whatever it takes.
There was Coach Tom Allen, Indiana football coach, talking about taking on the Cincinnati Bearcats. We'll start trying to find some sound from Luke Fickell later on, but also spoke with Conor Bezak and talking about spreading this offense around. And for him especially, that shows a comfortability with all of these different receivers now. It's not one guy. A lot of times you'll see a quarterback fall in love with the receiver, which is not good, especially when the defense can start honing in on that. That is far from the case with Conor Bezak and this offense. 12 different receivers in the last game. 12. That's a lot of guys. But he was asked, and he talked about that at the presser as well. Let's hear what Conor had to say.
Yeah, I think especially as the season goes on, the more teams are going to key in on DJ and Cam and AJ, which allows for more opportunities for other guys to step in, make big plays. And I think that's just the biggest thing, is just when they get the opportunity that they make the plays, make the routine ones, and then make some of the special ones. So I'll give them a chance. And but I think this past game there were a lot of guys that were in, and everyone did a great job. Had a couple drops, but we'll get those things cleaned up.
There's Conor Bezak, Indiana quarterback. And you hear that tone of voice? That's how he is all the time. I would imagine that's how he is in the huddles. Seriously. He is a very, very calm guy. And that's something you absolutely want in a quarterback. But he truly is. He is just a mellow dude. He's one of the – he's got that quarterback mentality. So Indiana is in good shape there. And the more that they keep getting the things in line, hopefully they'll continue to get better. This defense has to get better. One of those players is, of course, Aaron Casey, who there's a nice piece in the Star about why he was chosen to wear the 44 of George Taliaferro. He's been a key part. You see, he made a lot of plays this year. This defense has done a good job, but man, last week they gave up way too many chunk plays. Way too many chunk plays. That has to stop. And we'll find out what they can get done this weekend or not. What's everyone else doing this weekend? This is it's a road game. And I know not a lot of people could travel to road games, even though this is close. So when the road games, what do you guys do for the road games? Where do you should go to BB's. BB's would have a tailgate. As a matter of fact, I'll be surprised if they don't, because they do have the Friday I know they have the Friday night parking parties that starts at 3:00, which they'll probably continue that on to Saturday for a tailgate. We'll talk about that on Friday. Tim thinks Indiana wins 35-27. Well, I think that's about the score, but I think it may be reversed if I had to go for that. But that's that. So we'll see. What else is going on in the sports world and college football? The AP Top 25 was out yesterday. Is Georgia the new Alabama? They've kind of taken over that spot. Of course, you can never count Alabama out, of course, for anything. But Georgia looking pretty strong. The SEC looking strong as a conference, as we expected. Big Ten right there as well. The Big Ten East, kind of a juggernaut. I've talked about that. You've got Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State now looking much better. And then you've got a Michigan State team who I don't know about them. I'm not sure about Michigan State. They lose a game out to Washington, but I think Washington is much better than people are giving them credit for, man. I don't know why they acted like that was such a shock. Some people took that as a shocking loss. I'm like, dude, I expected that. Were you not watching? They have a really good offense. So curious how to see how that goes. John, did you get your air conditioning fixed, by the way?
I don't know whether that it's fixed or that it's just temporarily better. I don't really know how to say, because yesterday I was talking about.
Question. Did you check your filter?
Yeah, no, I changed that actually a couple of weeks ago. But the issue was, I don't know if I said this over the air yesterday, there was water splashing out from one of the pipes that is underneath the unit. And supposedly that means that your drainage, your condensation drain is clogged or something like that. Well, yesterday, or when I got home from work, there wasn't any more water splashing out. So I don't know if it unclogged itself. I was already looking up home remedies on how to take care of that in case there was, a big mess on the floor. But I don't know. Like I said, it may be temporarily taken care of. I'm keeping an eye on it, but we'll see what happens.
Well, I hope it continues.
Let's just get this heat away from us and move on to the next season. It's fall.
Well, that's not going to be a problem after today. It's a rather shocking, rather shocking weather change. It's going to go. I mean, yesterday was pretty warm, 90 degrees. It got up there pretty, and then 95, the expected high for today. Man, that's a little hot. A little hotter than I'd like to see it. Is that still the make sure that's still the case? Yeah, 95 expected today. Then tomorrow, that's a 25-degree swing. Not only that, tomorrow night, it's going to drop down to 45. That's a 50-degree swing we're talking about. That's nuts, even for us. But that's what we're looking at. I mean, buddy, when it's summer says, oh, no, it's summer. And then fall says, no, it's fall around here. That's what happens. Let's see.
Break.
Nothing. We got to take a break. When we come back, I think Kyle Neddenriep will be with us. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Looking forward to that. Brought to you by our good friends at Goteen, a part of the Wow Club, Wow Network. Goteen is a great snack to grab when you're on the run. These things, they're delicious. Goteen bites. And for a limited time, you can get those in a 16-count Goteen Hoosier pack. You can get 10% off of that if you mention Coyle 10, Coyle and the number 10. You can just go to goteenbites.com, GOTEINBITES. They're delicious. And you want a great little snack on the run, something out the door for the athlete, for the person on the go, for the person on a diet. These things are great. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
The sun is out. Hello, Kyle. How are you, sir?
Morning, Jim.
How are you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Wow. I'm just looking at this story about those two girls that play for Park Tudor.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty cool deal.
What else is going on with you, man?
Oh, not much. Same old.
Was it week 6 of high school football?
Yeah. Yep.
How close is high school basketball?
I'm actually going out to a open gym today, hopefully. So it's starting to, it doesn't really start until November, or I'm not even sure the exact start of practice, but basically the start of November is basically the start of the season. But then they don't play until I think Thanksgiving week is the first week of games. So we got a little time.
Well, life, your baseball season's almost over, so we can. The Reds are about to set a record for hit batters.
Are they really?
They just tied the record at 99 on Tuesday, and they're going for 100 to become. They will become the first team in the modern era to hit 100 batters.
That's kind of surprising. I wouldn't have thought. I would have thought it'd been higher back in the day, like the Bob Gibson era.
Yeah, when you can get away with it, when you can do it on purpose and not get thrown out.
Yeah, I guess now they throw harder, so maybe it's harder to get out of the way of a 99 mile per hour fastball.
There, here we go.
And pilots. See dealer for financing deals. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by RE/MAX Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday, joined by Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star, brought to you by our good friends from RE/MAX Realty, Cheryl Sizemore. If you're in the market for a home in the Indianapolis area, reach out to Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. Could be the difference in you getting the home you want or not. Kyle, how's it going, brother?
Good, Jim. How are you?
Good. You're halfway through the football season now, unbelievably already. That's crazy to say, but that's a fact.
It is. It's factual. And, we had did some midseason awards and kind of look at the landscape of things at the halfway point of the season, and kind of look forward now to, definitely some good games these next few weeks, but you're almost kind of thinking a little bit about the sectional draw, and I can't even remember the date. It's usually early October when that happens, but you start to think a little bit about the playoffs this time of year. But it's been a fun season. Again, wide open, I think, in 6A for the most part, but been a pretty good year so far.
You listed your 5 surprises. Whiteland was the first surprise on your list, a team that is now 5-0 and ranked #1 in 5A.
Yeah, and again, they're not necessarily a huge surprise that they're good. Darren Fisher's done a great job with that program for almost 20 years now, but the fact that I don't think people had them, maybe being this good and ranked number 1 in 5A at this point. But, they always run the ball really well. They have a good running back this year, Peyton Emberton, who kind of carries the load. And then they have some pretty speedy guys too to they can throw to a little bit and also work the edges in the run game. So, just a really good program that's probably, has a chance here. 5A is a class where, you had Cathedral move up to 6A. You had New Pal move down to 4A, back to their enrollment class. And it kind of opens the door for I kind of thought it might be Decatur Central, which it still could be. But Whiteland's kind of proved to be that team to take charge in 5A so far. So, it's one of those years where I think we're going to see somebody different win 5. It could be Merrillville, could be Whiteland, could be even still Decatur or, Franklin, a team like that. But, probably going to be somebody different in 5A this year. And right now that team looks like Whiteland.
Let's see. I'm not going to go through all of them, but another one of your surprises was Zionsville up in the 6A class. They're having quite the year at 4-1 right now.
Yeah, I mean they're again they were 5A runner up the last 2 years, so maybe not a huge surprise, but their first year in 6A. And, they got a really impressive win last week. Now they'll play some really, they beat Noblesville handily last week. Noblesville's not been a great program necessarily, but, it was a kind of stunning how they beat them. And they've got a quarterback who's going to Ball State and Christian Abney and a receiver who's very familiar in Eugene Hilton, T.Y. Hilton's son, who's kind of emerging as a sophomore standout. So, if you get T.Y. Hilton's son on your team, you're probably going to utilize him pretty well. Zionsville's done that. They have another good receiver too in Wrigley Baumgartner. So they're an interesting team. They'll be on the north side of the bracket in 6A with Carmel, and I'm not sure they're quite as good as Carmel just yet, but I think they're a team that could give them a good game in the playoffs, and certainly capable of pulling off an upset in that potential game. So, we'll see. I mean, they're playing 6A for the first time, so this will be a little bit different for them in the playoffs. But a team that I think that's got a chance to, be do some things in the playoffs.
How many Colts sons have there been? I mean, I know it's not a number you can just pull out, but have there been many Colts sons that have played Indiana high school football here?
Yeah, I actually wrote about that last week because you have, a lot of Colts connections with Eugene Hilton. You have Chris Ballard's son, the general manager of the Colts. His son Coyle is the quarterback at Westfield. You have Justin Snow, and these are former Colts that I'm talking about now, but Justin Snow, who was the long snapper for years on the Manning teams and, those really good teams. His son Hunter is a safety for Carmel, one of their leading tacklers. And then Hunter Smith, who was the punter for that same era, his son is Josiah Smith is the kicker and punter at Western Boone. Actually kicked the game-winning field goal a couple of years ago in the state championship game at Lucas Oil Stadium. So that was kind of a fun story at the time. But, so you've got those guys. Carmel's been kind of the recipient of a lot of the Colts connections and assistant coaches' sons, like Christian Williams and Solomon Williams. Their dad, he was a Colts coach. And, they've had several other players come through that are, Colts connections. And right now, Justin Snow, he coaches a 5th and 6th grade team. He has a younger son who plays at that age at Carmel, and Gary Brackett and Donald Thomas, who both played long time for the Colts, are his assistant coaches. So you have a staff of 3 former Colts there at Carmel coaching youth football. So that's kind of cool too. But yeah, there's it's mostly north side. You have a lot of north side suburban is usually where they're where
the
they
wealthier
live.
houses.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
honest, it's the wealthier neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So it's going to be Zionsville, Carmel, Fishers up in those areas. Or Noblesville. That's where it's going to be.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's mostly been Carmel, but yeah, it's you see a little bit more Westfield Fish in Zionsville now. But yeah, so there's definitely some connections if you know where to look for them.
Cool. Looking forward to that. You mentioned in the break that you're heading to an open gym today for basketball.
Yeah, hoping to. Fisher's just having one today. So, yeah, there's I think it's kind of a college day and so a chance to see, Jalen Harrelson, of course, is kind of the draw there at Fisher's. But they've got a good team, just looking forward to seeing a little bit of basketball if possible. I've also got another interview at 1 o'clock, so it just kind of depends how the day goes and probably won't be there the whole time. But yeah, so basketball, open gyms, we're kind of in that season in September and October where, people are doing open gyms and coaches are coming out to watch and kind of that's sort of where the high school basketball season is in the fall, or just technically it's not even the fall yet, but yeah, so that's kind of what things are happening right now for basketball. But yeah, I've still got a lot of football going on too.
Well, absolutely. As only 4 more regular season games, or is it 5 more?
Got 4 more. Everybody's got 5 games with at least one, sectional game. But yeah, four regular season games left.
And everyone high schools seem to have gotten into form early, where like when I see a lot of college football, and it seems to take them, of course, covering Indiana, you can see them. It takes them 2-3 games to get. But high schools, for whatever reason, seem to come into form a little sooner.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you pretty much have all summer now to get ready and practice, and it's not like it used to be where you had 2 weeks and then you're kind of just you don't do any team stuff in the summer pretty much. So, that's I think been beneficial for the game of football. You also see a lot more, probably spread and passing offenses than you did in the past. So that timing I think helps when you have extra time to practice together in the summer. So, kind of depends who you are, I guess. And there's different, there's a lot of injuries too. I mean, it seems like this year there's been a lot of players who've been, I saw Warren Central last week and their quarterback got hurt towards the end of the game. And it's just been, several teams have guys who have been out or have kind of been playing with injuries. So that's been an unfortunate thing. But yeah, I mean, that's part of it too, I guess, probably no different than any other year. But yeah, I think the quality of football is benefited from being able to do a little bit more team stuff in the summer and play against other teams. Basically, you have a chance to actually scrimmage against other teams. It kind of shows you where you are as a group and maybe what you need to do to improve yourself.
What's up next for you? Because obviously this week in high school football, but besides that, what are you working on?
Yeah, I had that story you mentioned on the Park Tudor girls come out today, and that was kind of fun, something different and inclusive.
Well, actually, we didn't talk about that. I mentioned it in the break, I think, but yeah, I did see that. Kyle has a story out right now about 2 Park Tudor football players. Both are females, so that's pretty unique.
Yeah, and you see some teams have kickers once in a while who are girls, and she's a soccer player who has kind of come over. The coach mentioned she's a sophomore. The coach mentioned at the end of last season, the football coach mentioned to Paige that, hey, we may need a kicker next year, and she kind of didn't know if he was serious at first, and then kind of came back and asked like, oh yeah, we definitely do. And so she comes out and she can kick. I watched her at practice. She can kick like 40 to 45 yarders in practice. Now she hasn't. That's
pretty good.
She is a good kicker. I mean, she's legitimately a really capable kicker. Now she hasn't done it yet in a game, but she did get an onside. She had an onside kick against Traders Point a couple of weeks ago. That
was it successful?
It was, and they had to have it too. They had to have it. Went back down, scored, and won the game. And, so pretty cool. I mean, she's legit. I talked to her kicking coach, Mark Haggy, who has worked with a lot of kickers in our area here and is kind of known as a kicking coach. And he was saying too, that, she's not good for a girl. She's just good, and I thought that was, pretty interesting. And then watching her, she's taller, so she's got some leverage and, and she's a really good soccer player too. She's Their Park Tudor's ranked number 1 in 1A, and they've got a chance to win state this year. And that's her number one thing. She goes to, if you see the photos, she goes to soccer practice, then she stops by football for like the last however long and does special teams work. But so she kind of gets it in there. But then the other girl is Tanner. She has played football her whole life. She's only a freshman and basically plays, she's sort of a backup linebacker. She's not very big, but she's played football since she was 6. And, she just loves football. She's a football kid, so it's been, and they both kind of said too, like, it's been cool to have another girl on the team where you kind of feel a little bit more comfortable, going into it. And I think obviously the coach wants him on the team, and he's made it a good situation for him too. Spencer in the team, you can tell really likes having them around, both of them around. So, it's a cool, like I said, a lot of times you may see one girl or a girl may kick here and there, but to have 2 of them on the same team and one of them, basically playing linebacker is I think a little bit unique and something different.
Yeah, and that soccer team that she plays on is 11-0-1, so she comes from success and knows about winning.
Yeah, absolutely. They're gonna, potentially have a chance to win a state championship. So, she said I think last week it was, or maybe the week before, their schedules kind of conflicted with games, and she wasn't able to get to much football, but they don't need her there for the whole practice anyway, but they do need her there to work on the things like the onside kicks and the kickoffs. Basically, she's trying to kick off, inside and pin teams and angle stuff, and she can actually do that. So, I mean, that's sort of, not very many high school teams have kickers with that ability to angle kicks and even try some of that stuff. So that's pretty cool. I mean, and I think she's basically just started doing it this summer and working with the kicking coach. So, I think Mark is excited to see where she can take this and maybe be I think soccer is going to be her number 1, but maybe this is something she can do on the side as well.
Very cool, man. Good luck to her and to all of them. But Park Tudor, if you're not familiar, is a small private school just north of Indianapolis, right?
Yeah, it's in Indianapolis, really. I mean, it's kind of by North Central, up on the north side of Indianapolis.
Cool. Look forward to it, Kyle, man. Can't wait for everything next coming out, and look forward to this week's high school coverage.
You bet. Thanks for having me on, Jim.
Thank you, brother. It's Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star. Make sure you give him a follow if you don't already, and be a subscriber. Keep local papers alive. Brought to you by our good friends from Barbara Pop Real Estate Services down in southern Indiana, Louisville. If you're looking for a home there, Floyd, Clark, Harrison, Scott counties, all down through there. They have served that area for 3 decades. Reach out to Barbara at barbarapop.com, or Matt Lincoln, at barbarapop.com. They can both get you taken care of and into the home you want. We've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Rick Bozich will join us later, and we'll be back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore Honda.
All right.
All right.
Keep on rolling, baby. You know what time it is.
Man, I'm hungry. Man.
What?
Former UCLA basketball player Jalen Hill
What happened?
went missing in Costa Rica.
Wow.
Then he died. I don't know. I didn't say. He was a 6'10" dude.
All right, here we go.
Experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty at cheryl@indiehomepros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl@indiehomepros.com.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you here on this Wednesday. Hope you're having a great week and ready for the rest of it because it's downhill from here, baby. And I mean that literally. Well, no, it's going to get hot today. Then it'll cool off. Kind of a weird story, and this is from ESPN, but Jalen Hill, former UCLA basketball player, has died at the age of 22. Mick Cronin said his death is heartbreaking. That the Bruins former Bruins forward was a warm-hearted young man with a great smile who left us far too soon. His family said in an Instagram post that it learned of his death recently after Hill went missing in Costa Rica, but did not disclose further details. He apparently dealt with some depression eras, but he played parts of 3 seasons at UCLA before retiring after the 2021 season, citing anxiety and depression in an Instagram video announcing his decision. He left the team in February 2021, but did not address his status until April, saying he did not want to distract the Bruins' run to the Final Four, which was a big season. He says, I just had to distance myself because the headspace I was in, it was damaging the team, he said in the video. So he did not want to distract them from achieving their goals. Hill was also one of those 3 players, UCLA players, along with LiAngelo Ball and Cody Riley, who were arrested in China on shoplifting charges back in November of 2017. He was suspended for that season, but returned to the program the next and appeared in 77 games during his career, averaging 6 points and 6 rebounds. But sad end to that. To see how that went. That was Michael Lewis was part of that program then, now at Ball State. But our thoughts and prayers go out to that family. Let's see. Getting back to the Andy Moore Honda hotline, Ross says, since he coach Fickle was asked in his weekly presser about IU football stealing signs last year, he just smiled and sidestepped it. Guess it didn't matter. Well, that's funny. I always need my BBs, Mike. Five Left's talking about what a community advantage. That's why he loves the car when Carmel loses. Talking about earlier when, if it's Colts players or if it's a Pacer player, anybody like that, it's going to be on the north side of town. Most likely, that's just the facts of life. Zionsville, Carmel, 2 most affluent areas. Every place has them. Every city has them, and that's Indy's side, the north side. But yeah, I get it. Art Carmel's also a gigantic school, man. They have like 5,000 students. It's nuts. It's crazy. So Big Bill is in his backhoe hauling firewood, listening to Indiana Sports Beat. Can't beat that, man. We appreciate you, Bill. Appreciate you very much. Let's see. Tannis mentioning, do people forget it was Charlton Warren and not Tom Allen calling the defense last year? That is going to be the deciding factor. Definitely going to make a difference, I can tell you that. And speaking of Charlton Warren, who's now at North Carolina, yesterday I noticed that Notre Dame and North Carolina is a pick'em. A pick'em. I never would have imagined Notre Dame being in a pick'em game with Notre Dame, with North Carolina. Crazy. Caleb pointing out he's getting on late today. Well, we talked a little bit about that yesterday, Caleb. Is there anything new with Amoni and his gun charges? I saw that he had been charged with those issues. His arrest after the gun found in his car. We talked about that yesterday, and he, denied that. But has there been anything new with that? Let me know if there has been, because I haven't seen it, if anything has been updated. He is, he's suspended. I know that. It's sad to see, but and I'm not going to say you see it a lot, but it's a lot of times these problems are the problems of the people around them. You had greedy people. Penny Hardaway was greedy because he was doing it for himself. He wasn't doing it for this kid. I was reading a story about some guy who calls himself the Reverend the other day. Greedy people that are guiding kids. I mean, this was the top high school recruit in the country. And he may not ever make it to the league, man, the way he's going. Because NBA teams, pro teams, they don't want this stuff. They don't want these kind of problems. And he's already had to, he's had the issue with the NCAA issue with Penny, and left that program to go to Eastern Michigan. And now first thing he does is he's arrested and suspended from the team. Man, pro teams, there's a lot of basketball players out there. And not sure he's that good to where they're going to take it. They'll just take a pass. Yeah, exactly right, Tannis. He needed direction more than he needed NIL money. But hopefully that gets arranged. I hate to see anyone's life derailed, but per the Michigan Penal Code, a person charged with carrying a concealed weapon can face imprisonment for not more than 5 years and a fine of up to $2,500. The charge of altering an ID on a weapon carries a penalty of up to 2 years in prison and a fine of up to $1,000. He won't get anything like that. He'll probably see no jail time whatsoever. I'm sure it'll be suspended, but it'll play out. It's not going to help his career. Yes, he should have stayed with Sparty and played for Izzo. Yeah, that's for certain. Tom would have been a much better role model and tried to guide him in a better direction. But this kid maybe, he's had this treatment his entire life. When you treat these kids like this, That's what they expect. And then it becomes, it's not really their fault because they've been trained to expect this, trained to think this way, trained to do these things, trained to think that they can get away with them. They see other big-time athletes do it. They think they're a big-time athlete now because they're being feted with money and different things. Well, why can't I get away with that? Well, because it's against the law, and in the real world, it'll come down on you. But I hope that works out and it gets around. Indiana basketball, hopefully, all quiet on that front right now. Let's see, what is today? Wednesday. Tomorrow we've got Connor Staley, so he'll have an update on all recruiting news for Indiana, and then of course Alec Lasley should be back this Friday as well. So looking forward to that. So we'll get you caught up on everything that's going on there, which there's not a whole lot, to be honest with you. It's just that time of year where it just slows down or it gets quiet. I'm not saying it slows down. It gets quiet on the basketball front. Just things, there are always things going on, but just stuff you don't hear about unless you go to the Hoosier. Another class of 2025 name popping out, according to Alec Lasley. E.J. Walker continues to be on Indiana's radar. Alec talked to him, and we'll talk more about that on Friday. But apparently Coach Brian Walsh is involved with E.J. Is going to see him work out tomorrow. Indiana's had numerous conversations with him over the last few weeks. Alec mentioned him in his weekly notebook last week. And again, if you don't have a subscription to thehoosier.com, you're missing out. Alec is doing a tremendous job on keeping everything updated on their basketball recruiting side, as well as Kyler Staley. They have all that information on who's seeing whom and when in there. So go to thehoosier.com and give Alec Lasley and Kyler Staley a follow for all that basketball coverage. But he's based in Erlanger, Kentucky. And again, this would be the fifth player from Kentucky this staff has looked at. And again, they're going any and everywhere. But he does currently hold offers from Purdue, West Virginia, Youngstown, Duquesne, it's Northern Kentucky, Ohio, Toledo, and Stony Brook. Purdue, obviously, in West Virginia, the two big ones there. He has visited Purdue, Michigan State, Ohio State, and West Virginia, and is looking to set up a visit to Indiana. This is a 2025 kid, though. So remember, he's out there a little bit, but that's the same year as Trent Sicily and Jalen Harrelson, I believe, right? So that would give, wing. You got a wing to go with Trent Sicily and Jalen Harrelson at the point. And I was talking to someone about Jalen Harrelson last night. He's just an imposing, for a point guard, 6'7", looking like a fullback. Five Left says he thinks Page is going elsewhere, and he's okay with that. He was never impressed with his motor. We'll talk about that tomorrow, Five Lefts. Make sure we ask, and then more so on Friday with Alec. I think Alec has been more in contact with him, but we'll talk to Alec about that and see what he thinks. Five Lefts also says he better go to the G League now. Lawyer fees will eat up that NIL money. Yeah, we'll see. Hey, we've got to take a quick break. When we come back, Rick Bozich should be with us from WDRB.com. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends from Metaworks Brewing Company, part of the WOW Network. Make sure you go to your Google Play Store or Apple Play Store and join the WOW Club today. Metaworks, located just off the square in Bloomington, the former Function Brewery. Back with Rick Bozich right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Hey, this is John.
Hello, Richard.
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I am fine. It's officially time to give up on the White Sox. It's over.
Yeah, I know. Time of death was last night.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, man. I was like, okay, it's over.
Time of death for the summer needs to be today. Since it's 95, this needs to be the last day of the 90-degree temperature. I'm sick of it.
Is it?
I hope so. Today is, it is officially the last day of summer, if you're being technical about it. And then tomorrow it's going to be in the 70s, so it's kind of a good transition.
Yeah. When I saw my heating bill yesterday, I'm ready for the air conditioning. You take a break for a while.
Yeah.
Electric bill.
John, did you see this comment?
What? This isn't a hose clog. There's an overwork condenser unit from running. I've had
that sounds like exactly what happened to you because it started working again.
Well, what was the deal yesterday? Some guy was going through the drain system around campus or something, or I didn't understand that.
Are you talking about Indiana?
Yeah.
In Bloomington. Yeah, I saw some weird stuff about that. I didn't know what had happened. Jim, do you know?
I did not hear anything about that.
Dustin DePirick, I saw him tweeting some stuff about it.
Weird. Something's weird.
People thought there was an active shooter, but it wasn't an active shooter or something.
What?
What's the point spread Saturday? 13,
right now
16,
it's like 16 and a half.
16 and a half.
Wow. No respect.
It almost seems like you should easily call Indiana to cover that one, but honestly, you never know. Who knows?
Wow.
Second.
What's in Louisville still 14?
Who do they have? South Florida?
Yeah.
Are they underdogs?
No, they're favored.
Wow.
14 and a half. I don't know, man. I might take South Florida in the 14 and a half.
I think I would take South Florida as well. I think Scott Satterfield's days are numbered. I think his days were numbered the moment that he started flirting with the South Carolina job.
Yeah, I agree. He blew all the goodwill from the first season when he did that.
Yeah.
If you're going to do stuff like that, you better win big.
All right, here we go.
Call 812-824-4040 or visit eaglepoint.com. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. An exceptional golf and dining experience.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Brought to you by our good friends from Bubba's 33 down in Clarksville, RIL5 I-65, pizza, burgers, beer. Join Rick Bozich from WDRB.com. I knew nothing about this, Rick. In the break, he was telling us about this craziness that was going on in Bloomington yesterday. I had no idea because I was not downtown at all. But there was some wacko down in the storm drain that they were trying to get out, that they thought he had a rifle and warning if you hear loud bangs, shelter in place. And I'm like, what? That is nuts. And they got him out of there and arrested and whatnot. But that's a new one.
Every day, another adventure. You never know.
I'm telling you.
Just hold on tight.
Holy smokes. Speaking of craziness, how about a 16.5 point spread for Indiana at Cincinnati, which I expected Cincinnati to be the favorite, but my gosh, man, they think Indiana's terrible.
Yeah, I just checked DraftKings actually, Jim. It's up to 17 on DraftKings, so it's going the other direction. I think it's a combination of things. Of one, Cincinnati's playing at home. They did play well at Arkansas in their one road game. The other two games, they didn't really beat anybody. Miami had them. Wasn't Miami ahead of them at halftime, or at least into the second quarter on Saturday?
They're always a second half team,
right? And I guess people have looked at IU's 3 wins and not been impressed by any of them. So we'll see. They're going to have to play better than they played in all 3 games, especially on defense. That was the biggest concern I had from the game on Saturday, giving up a lot of big running plays and getting beaten pass coverage a couple of times, guys that are supposed to be better than that, cornerbacks, safeties that are supposed to be better than that. But if they don't turn it over and they actually kick the ball off in bounds, they have a chance.
Yeah. And the kicker, the kicking game has been so good for them. It's funny that it's also
those 2 kickoffs. I mean, that led to what, 10 points? I mean,
yep.
You can't do that, man. You can't, when you're a team like Indiana, where you're always battling in the margins, you've got to be great on special teams. I mean, you're not going to have the talent to be good all the time on offense or defense because you're not going to have the personnel on the line. But you can have good special teams, and you can't have your kickoff guy kicking the ball out of bounds twice, especially late in the game when it really matters and giving the other team field position at the 35-yard line. That just can't happen.
No, especially when that's your only job.
Correct.
You're not your only job is kickoffs.
Right.
Man, you've got 55 yards.
Right.
Hell, a field goal kicker is I don't know how wide goalposts are exactly, but they're not that wide. You've got 55 yards to keep it in play. That's I don't understand that. Yeah, that should never ever happen, but it does.
Yeah, you can look at IU season really any way you want to. I mean, if you want to be impressed by the grit that they've shown to come back 3 times and win, it's out there. If you want to give credit to them for making plays every time they really had to make a play, they've made plays. They haven't given into adversity. You can do that. But if you want to be concerned by some of the things you've seen, you can do that. I mean, I see a lot of good things. I mean, I see some decent young players on defense for sure. The defense, I think, is better than in many ways better than last year. The offense is certainly better than last year. And I like some of the things I saw on offense against Western. Josh Henderson ran the ball with authority. I mean, he looked like a guy who could run through tackles. He hit that one-handed catch on that pass that he turned into some nice yardage. Cam Camper looks like a dependable receiver. Donovan McCulley looks like he's going to eventually be a player. He just needs reps. But, they've got to tighten down a lot of areas against Cincinnati because Cincinnati, has better person. This is the best personnel they've probably played this year.
12 receivers, 12 different receivers caught a pass, which is good in the sense of that means you have a lot of weapons and you can do a lot of different things.
Yeah, 3 different tight ends, right? Bamba got involved. Aaron Steinfeld made a big catch.
First catches for those guys.
Yeah, big. Barner, Matthews had a nice – they've got guys. And it's good that Conor Bezak has enough trust in all of them to throw them all the ball. That's got to make it harder for the defense when they're scheming against you to know that, the quarterback's comfortable throwing to any receiver that's on the field at any time. It's not just a 2 or 3 man operation, which we have seen some, in the past. So in the running game, it's gotten a little bit better every week. Now Carpenter's out, so they're down 2 starters. But I thought it was a great story. The kid from West Washington who was 3rd string and, probably is Caleb Murphy. That's his name. First kid from West Washington in any sport to ever get a scholarship to a Big Ten school. And you could tell after the game how emotional he was, and he did an okay job. So those are the kind of stories that I kind of gravitate towards in college football these days. There's so much cynicism and stuff going on that this is a kid who I'm sure it's a thrill of a lifetime for him to go to IU. And then now he finally gets his chance at IU and he plays and they win the game. And that meant everything to him.
Oh, I can imagine. West Washington, just a school out in the middle of the country.
On the road between Salem and Mitchell.
That's it, man. I was gonna say you pass it right there. But yeah, it's those schools don't get they don't get to experience that very often. So it's like being Mr. Basketball, basically for those guys. But Indiana, defensively, they look just so porous, especially in the second half. They gave up 33 yards rushing in the first half, but like 133 in the second half. And it was like two different teams. And these were chunk runs of 59 yards, I think 29, too many long runs that they allowed and allowed Western Kentucky to get back into easy scoring position. And they do that to Cincinnati. Cincinnati will pick them apart.
You're right. And what was wasn't the quarterback at one point like 28 for 31 or something? It was ridiculous.
Oh, he was throwing 80% the whole game, it seemed like.
Yeah. You know, they got a nice offense. They got a nice scheme, but it shouldn't be that good. You got to get a better pass rush. You got to make the guy uncomfortable. You got to get some blitzes that work and knock him down a few times and, you know, make him question how secure he should be standing back in there and just throwing the ball. I mean, they didn't make him uncomfortable enough until overtime. You know, they played a great defensive stand in overtime. So when it mattered, they came through. I mean, when they needed to make a winning play, they made a winning play.
Indiana's offense, however, in the overtime basically stunk, and Charles Campbell saved them with that bomb field goal. But I was like, ooh, they did nothing right in that overtime period to help themselves win that game. They did everything to lose that game at the end, or not lose because they had stopped Western already, but they did everything to not take advantage of that. I was like, oh my God, are they going to get out of field goal range?
It was questionable. I mean, what you worried about was did they get too conservative? And, you know, they knew they just needed a field goal, so they were just going to run the ball, you know, try and position it in the middle of the field to make the field goal as short as possible. And they didn't really, and then it just, you know, went backwards on them. And luckily Campbell saved the day. And then nobody would be, that would have been the story about what were they doing on offense when all they had to do was gain 3 or 5 yards and kick an easy field goal. So good for Campbell, who, you know, Tom Allen had been on pretty hard the week before. And he responded to coaching, and he's also a fifth-year guy who's stuck with the program. I'm sure he could have left at some point, and he's a Tennessee kid, I believe, and he invested in IU football at a time when it wasn't the greatest place to invest in the country, and so he's rewarded for it. Good for him.
Announced this week, beers being sold finally at Assembly Hall, one of the last places on earth that you can now get a beer, I believe, in college basketball. Just kidding on that, but I don't know that they're going to have any problems, but it's finally going to happen there. This will be, I think, the 4th season that they've sold beer at Mackey. I remember being up there 4 years ago. Some guy had a beer, so surprised it took them this long, but it's finally here.
Well, I mean, it's the 40th season at Louisville, and so I'm used to it.
Yeah.
They've been doing it forever. They've been, you know, they got 2 bars. You've been there, right? I mean, they've got 2 bars underneath the main level on both sides of the court, a gin bar and a bourbon bar. You know, I mean, people don't get back to their seats. It's like IU football games. When the second half starts, not everybody's back in their seats at the basketball games at Louisville. So, I mean, it's such a big revenue producer. In the end, that's always what dictates things, and that's a way for them to make a bunch of money. And with the anticipation and expectation of such a good season this year for IU, I'm sure it'll be mainly sellouts, and it'll be nice for the bottom line.
Absolutely. Jeff Brom and Purdue, they're still trying to muddle through. I'm not sure where their season is headed.
Wow.
Not looking good.
I've read 2 different reports. One was 4 penalties in the last minute, and I thought 40 said might have been 5 or 6.
I don't remember how many it was, but I know that the 2 major ones, of course, on the receiver, a tight end who did his Vince McMahon walk, and then Jeff Brom gets one on top of that, which was shocking for him to get that at the time of the game. But I understand sometimes
It
emotions.
was
and
at
all
least
that, but
4 penalties. And then they played man coverage at the end, and the receiver was beaten badly on the corner route, and they lost with 7 seconds to go. I mean, Purdue was positioned, I think, to have a really good season this year, and they still should have a winning season, but they've lost 2 games they could have won for sure. And the only team they've beaten is Indiana State. So if you look at resume for resume, Indiana's resume is better than Purdue's right now.
that's hard to imagine, but that's the truth. Also saw that the University of Kentucky reported some self-violations for phantom work that was paid for and not done. Now,
Yeah,
I've never heard of that happening before. Does that really go on?
Yeah. Somebody tried to portray it as time card irregularities. It wasn't time card irregularities. It was guys not doing work they were supposed to be doing. It was lying, basically. And what I'll say about that is sometimes when you break rules, they are arcane NCAA rules or there's gray area. This was none of that. This was outright cheating an employer by clocking in and then not doing the work. And, players know the difference between right or wrong, and they chose wrong. And the guy, I believe the person at the hospital who was supervising this has lost his job over it. So as usual, the athletes sort of skate and the adult, loses his job over it. And, it's a reflection of guys not doing the right thing.
Fandom, baby. Too much fandom getting in the way. That's the problem with it can be an NIL stretch. You get fandom involved, and that's where that's why these universities are trying to control these NIL groups, because once you lose control, it's just chaos. And
sure it is.
And now we've seen, not that this is that, but the Indiana football team has gone out and formed their own NIL club, which is a good thing. But that's not what I was talking about there. But yeah, the school wants them to be contained. So this stuff doesn't happen, because this can come back, and this can actually come back and screw a team, and it won't hurt Kentucky because it's Kentucky, of course. But
and the other part of this I always think about is, and I know this isn't top of the agenda for everybody else, is it just adds to the sense of entitlement that a lot of athletes have if they can get away with stuff like this.
Imani Bates. It goes right to the Imani Bates thing.
And what I think about is when these guys are 30 years old and they can't do anything for anybody anymore, and people aren't looking the other way when they break rules anymore. People aren't excusing it when they break rules anymore. When the cheering stops, they've got to deal with consequences just the way everybody else does. But because they're athletes and so many people idolize them, then, people kind of slough off what they've done and apologize for it and make excuses and call it time card irregularities or whatever. I mean, just say what it is. I mean, they were running a scam job on a work thing where they were getting paid for work they didn't do. If you're a fan and you own a business, how would you deal with employees that were doing that to you? I mean, probably wouldn't think it was so funny.
And why do this when you could do NIL, but this is probably not a company that wanted the NIL deal. They wanted.
Well, it's a university hospital. That's another part of it. It's the hospital that was aligned with the university. Not a good look.
A university can't really do a NIL deal. That's why. So they found a way around it.
Right. And I think there were some whistleblowers involved in that. The Herald Leader, actually, the Lexington paper had a story about it on Saturday, and they actually got somebody who was there to talk about it, who I think was doing the job and was actually putting the work in, and saying, I'm working my butt off here, probably not making that much money an hour, and these dudes are clocking in and leaving and not doing any work. I mean, that's not right. So good for that person, whoever it was.
Yep. Luckily, he's probably not a UK fan.
Not on board.
Guarantee it. What else is happening down in your way that you're working on?
Well, the big story here, obviously, is University of Louisville football. Talk about teams that have not started the season the way they were supposed to. They were hoping for at least 2-1 and best case scenario 3-0, and they got smoked by Syracuse in the season opener, came back and beat Central Florida, and then lost the game that they led for a good bit on Friday night against Florida State, outgained them by 40 yards and lose the game. And, there's a lot of grumbling here. Syracuse and Florida State are two teams they beat last year, and Louisville's schedule is front-loaded for success. The last 6 games are really hard, and they play South Florida here on Saturday in what is pretty much a must-win for the Cards.
And let's say things were to go bad and they parted ways with Scott Satterfield. Things are not going great for Jeff Brom,
right?
But is Louisville a place, an attractive place for him now with the uncertainty of the conferences? But he's in the Big Ten right now. He would be leaving. That would be a step down, not because of Louisville being a step down per se, but conference-wise, it's like, wow, what the hell is going to happen to the ACC? Where will Louisville be in 4 years, 5 years?
That's a great question. Hard to answer. The only reason we even talk about it is because he's from Louisville and still has a house in Louisville. His parents live in Louisville. His in-laws are in Louisville.
With the high school in Louisville, he played at Louisville.
Both of his brothers who are on his staff at Purdue still have homes in Louisville. I mean, it's a powerful, it's a powerful connection here.
Draw.
So,
it's like a magnet. It's like a big magnet that has been pulling at him wherever he's been.
Yeah, and he came this close to taking the job, 3.5 years ago, and didn't do it because he'd only been at Purdue for 2 years. So, every week this plays out, the bigger story it's going to become, unless Louisville gets on a run and, squashes the story. They've got South Florida at home, then they go to Boston College in Virginia. And so every week people are going to be taking the temperature and kind of calculating, 1 and 2. I think most people thought they'd have to win at least 7 this year to make Satterfield safe. And the odds of them getting to 7 are not great after the start they've had.
And talk about it. Well, Indiana, they can. I don't see them winning this game. I'll be honest with you.
Right.
But if they can go to Nebraska and still win and be 4 and come through this stretch 4-1,
right,
they should be doing cartwheels.
Right.
And if they don't go to Nebraska and win that game, that's a major issue because Nebraska is a bad team right now.
Right. Yeah, I was surprised that Oklahoma just crushed them. I mean, it wasn't even a game for a quarter. So, you look at IU, and they need to win 3 of the last 9, right? And you'd say 3 of them are totally out of reach, which would be Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan. So that means they need to win 3 out of 6. Michigan State's on the road. Didn't look great against Washington. Purdue, it's in Bloomington. They could possibly win that game. Maryland's in Bloomington. They could possibly win that game. Rutgers, Cincinnati, Nebraska. They just need to find a way to win 3. And I know everybody wants to go to bowl game and get to 6. Even if they win 5, I think it's a step forward, remembering that they only won 2 last year. I'm probably in the minority because everybody thinks anything less than a bowl game is failure, but 5 would be a step forward. But let's see. They need to win 1 of the next 2. If they win 1 of the next 2, then they at least retain some of the optimism for the rest of the season. If they lose the next 2, then we both know how the IU fan base is, that people immediately go into, the season's over. When does basketball start?
It's October 15th. All right, let's go.
Who's the Raptors? There'll be a Hoosier hysteria.
Hoosier hysteria is October 7th or whatever it is, coming up right here around the corner.
I mean, tomorrow's media day. I'll see you tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. It is. Keep
2 hours of men and women together, right?
Loaded. Yep. The whole deal, all day long. Got to get all prepared for that. So that's going to be a big day. Indiana doing that tomorrow. I didn't even mention that yet, but all day long tomorrow, meeting with doing their men's and women's. They haven't done that before, which is kind of nice. And then we've got coming up a Big Ten Media Day in mid-October.
Now, are you going to that?
Yeah.
Minneapolis,
baby.
Are they doing men and women like one day and then the next day to at least make it cost conscious for media members?
You know what? I haven't looked. I just know that Indiana is on the first day. So,
Okay.
I haven't seen mention of that though, but they did that.
Is it at the Target Center? Is that where it is?
Yeah, it's at the Target Center in Minneapolis. So hopefully it doesn't snow. It's going to be 95 today, and I'm talking about an event that I have to go to in just a few weeks, and just hoping it's not snowing.
No, it probably will be snowing during the Big Ten tournament, my friend. So make sure you take care of that.
Oh yeah, that's I can't wait. Thank you, Mr. Warren.
I don't
Look,
get
the tournament's in Chicago this year, right?
No, it's in Minneapolis.
I thought it was Chicago and then Minneapolis. Am I mistaken? Maybe I'm mistaken.
No, that's why media days in Minneapolis.
That makes sense then.
They're making us go there twice. Once was not enough.
It's better than having it in Washington, D.C. or New York, but I just think that Indianapolis and Chicago are the two places it should be every year.
Well, Minneapolis is close to no one except for Minneapolis.
Right.
But
it'll have a lot of Wisconsin and Iowa fans.
Yeah, but the Chicago, Indiana thing is Indianapolis is perfect because they're both centrally located and they're both, well, Indianapolis is best at hosting those events. But I wish, of course, I'm being selfish. I'd love to see it there. It's a lot better to drive an hour than
the Target Center is definitely a step down from Gainbridge Fieldhouse. I was there last year. Louisville played in the Final Four last year. It's a 30-year-old building that's been remodeled once, and the media setup was terrible last year for the women's Final Four. So don't get your hopes up.
What I'm looking at right now, sorry to interrupt, but it is saying United Center Chicago 2023, Target Center Minneapolis 2024.
Really?
And that's what I thought I'd seen before. So why are you having Big Ten Media Days in Minneapolis and the Big Ten in Chicago?
That's surprising to me.
At least you don't have to make a return trip this year, Jim.
Call Barry Alvarez and ask him why. The commissioner of the Big Ten.
You're right about that.
What's up next, Mr. Rick?
I'm going to Louisville, South Florida on Saturday. I'll be home to watch IU Cincinnati. It's here at noon game. I'll be back to watch the Louisville Cincinnati game and see what's going on. I guess Larry Grounds checks in that it is in Chicago. I'm surprised that they would have Big Ten Media Day in Minneapolis and have the tournament in Chicago. That makes no sense.
And it makes me even
whatever.
Yeah. Oh well. At least I got a friend that lives there, Pete. So 2 years in a row, Pete, I'll be staying with you. Rick, can't thank you enough, man. Make sure you give Rick Bozich a follow at WDRB.com and on Twitter. Appreciate you so much and looking forward to.
I got to go to the company picnic. I'm in the cornhole tournament. You got any tips for me?
Throw it long and straight, man. Long and straight.
Tom Lane's on the other team. He's the defending champion, so I might get knocked out in the first round.
Tom Lane is?
Oh yeah, he's good at cornhole.
Well, he's got lower center of gravity too.
Yeah, he does. And he's a better athlete.
It's I think you're taller, so you're going to get too much. Don't get too much loft on that thing.
I got longer reach though. I'm closer to the hole.
Right. That's right.
I'm like Randy Johnson.
You should just be throwing them in like darts.
Okay, Michael Penix style. Let me ask you this: I mean, how are people up there reacting to the Michael Penix? I think most people are happy.
Mostly positive. Right? Yeah, I've seen nothing but positive things. There's no reason to be. I don't see any reason for anyone to be anything but positive towards him.
Yeah, he gave his body to IU football.
Shoot, yeah, he did, and I think he kind of got let down. To be honest with you, by not having an offensive line to protect him. And he kind of probably saw that was the writing on the wall for this season. So maybe I'll go someplace else where they may have a better offensive line. I don't know what he was thinking, but
yeah. And, he's got obviously a lot of trust and a lot of confidence in Kalen DeBoer,
and the familiarity. That familiarity is probably a big part of it.
And he's in the running. Kalen DeBoer's in the early running for National Coach of the Year. I mean, he
with
is.
good reason. With good reason. Speaking of him, that Nebraska opening is, he coached him. He's from South Dakota. So he's kind of from that part of the country. Nebraska would be stupid not to reach out to him, I think.
I agree. But I thought somebody reported, Bruce Feldman reported at The Athletic that 3 names were Matt Campbell of Iowa State, Lance Leopold of Kansas, and I forgot who the third one was. I don't think it was DeBoer. But to me, DeBoer needs to be – he plays a more modern game.
This needs to be almost the complete opposite of the Osborne days, because that style doesn't work for Nebraska anymore, and it's Kalen DeBoer would light that place up. I think that he could turn that place around faster than you can imagine.
Are you going to that game? That's next week, right?
Yeah, I haven't decided yet.
It's a night game, right?
Yeah, as of right now, I'm not. I went there the last time they played.
That's a long drive.
Oh yeah,
I made the drive to Omaha for the College World Series. That's
yes, it is. I'm thinking about that because Indiana plays Kansas this winter in basketball right after playing Vegas. So in Vegas.
Now, are you going to Vegas?
Definitely. Yep. Be in Vegas. Yes. Ready for that. I've got to find my flight. I was trying to find my flight information yesterday and I can't. And I went back and I saw that I'm like, okay, here's a bank statement where I paid for a flight, but I can't find the flight anywhere. So I've got to spend my day trying to find that.
All right. Well, you good luck. I hope you find it. And wish me luck in cornhole.
Thanks, you brother. Knock him down.
All right.
Rick Bozich from
Thanks, guys.
WDRB.com. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
On Indiana Sports Beat. We got lots more coming up to finish the show out, and we'll be back with it here right after this. Brought to you by our good friends from Bubba's 33 and Reynolds Family Dentistry. You want that championship smile? Make sure you stop by and see Dr. J down at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting, missed that question 5 left. Sorry, brother. That was a good question.
I still think no matter how good he does, the fact that he's been injured makes it harder for him to get a high draft pick.
Yeah, but if he goes through this entire season
and doesn't get hurt,
and doesn't get hurt, I'm not saying he's going to be a high draft pick.
Yeah. Now, if he gets hurt, he may not get drafted, period.
Well, if he
he
gets hurt again, he will not get drafted again.
Yeah. He may just himself retire from football. I mean,
there we go.
Can't make it through a single.
Hey, that's something to talk about. Daggone it. I forgot. Yeah, tomorrow's daggone stinking media day. I got to be out there early. As a matter of fact, I got to be out there at 1:30.
Okay.
Man, I'm so hungry.
Only got about 5 minutes left in this last segment. Here we go.
Plenty more. Simply go to thehoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also find full episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on this station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by K-Bello. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here, coming to you from the high atop the 18th fairway at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Brought to you by our good friends at K-Bello. I had a great chance to, I was out there last week for the NI Never Lose Hoop dinner. Awesome. And thanks to Mike Ross, he ended up paying for that instead of Never Lose Hoop was going to pay for that, but he did it instead, donating that to them as well. So thank you, Mr. Mike. Let's see some comments that I hate that I missed this question from Five Less. He was asking if Michael Penix stays healthy this year, where does Rick think that he'll get drafted? I wish I would have asked him that. It's going to be interesting because of his past health issues. It would be interesting, very interesting to see. We'll have to see how this season finishes. If he finishes without getting hurt and has a great year, we'll see if he goes to the combine, gets an invite to the combine. That we'll start with that one. Also suggesting taking a tour of Prince's Estate at Paisley Park since I'm up there. Great idea. Don't think I'm going to have time, unfortunately, but man, what a great idea. Didn't think of that. Tanis F11 says, ye have little faith. He thinks Indiana beats Cincinnati this weekend because the training wheels are coming off. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but they're going to have to play better. Larry G says, he confirmed that according to the IU schedule on the website, the Big Ten tourney is in Chicago this year. And Five Left's pointing out that Herm Edwards, I think this was yesterday, he was fired from Arizona State. They have not had much going on, and they've got some issues, I believe, some NCAA issues hanging in the balance for him. So that's another thing. And Steve says, great show as usual. Poor guy's hungry. That's me. I'm starving. Guys. Telling you. But we appreciate you very much, Steve. Hope you can come out and join us at BB sometime. Hope all of you can come out and join us at BB sometime. We're going to keep doing that all through. This is not just a football thing. I think we're going to keep doing it all through the year. For the weekends, prepare for the weekends. There'll be a basketball game every weekend, regardless, whether it's at home or on the road. So we're going to plan that. Just going to make it a thing, baby. Love it. Make it the live show every Friday. And it has just become fun. And who doesn't want to hang out with Chef JD, bringing all that goodness out? Were you kidding me? Man, I can't thank everybody enough, though. I hope everybody will hit the like button. It helps us a ton. And do me a great favor. Reach into your phones and pull up Twitter and give me a follow on Twitter at Jim Coyle, ISB. I would appreciate that immensely. Spread the word to those that don't know. And we're looking forward to tomorrow. John, what is on tap for tomorrow?
So Dustin Schutte will be back with us. We'll have Matt Taylor to talk about. I'm sure he's going to be at a loss for words about what's going on with the Colts, but we'll hear from him.
Matt may end up going on assignment tomorrow accidentally.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll also have Kyler Staley to talk some Indiana basketball recruiting and possibly a little bit about Hoosier hysteria, and maybe Kyler knows who G Herbo is. Who knows? And then we'll also have Chris Denari talk about all things NBA and the Pacers. I'm sure he'll have some thoughts on the NBA discussing whether or not they are going to change the draft age minimum. So plenty of things to talk about. Oh, and I think Derek Jackson could be joining us at the end of the show as well. I'm sure he's excited about how well Indiana has started compared to where they were last year.
We'll certainly see. Five Left says, tell BBs he's going to need a tray of bacon when he comes through. Well, let me tell you, brother, they got it. I cannot wait to get it. That burger JD posted a pic of looks awesome. Well, let me tell you, everything they make is awesome. I promise you. Yeah, I'm glad you're following them, Ross. Keep doing that. Hey, that's going to wrap it up for us here at Indiana Sports Beat. Cannot thank everybody enough. Again, like I said, big thanks to Kyle Neddenriep, Rick Bozich, John, the producer. Most importantly, thanks to you guys. Without you, we've got no reason to be here, and we certainly appreciate you guys each and every day. Spread the word. We're back tomorrow to do this again, and then Friday, of course, the live show, but we also have we'll be at Indiana Media Day tomorrow. Basketball Media Day is tomorrow, so we'll be having all kinds of content coming up in the next week and weeks leading up to that. Go out and have yourselves a great day, and know that the first half of the week's over. We're heading downhill from here, babe. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition